Good evening, I'm Pinky Webb. Tonight we ask the questions, we tackle the issues, we clarify matters, and we get on point. Fake news. That is how the Philippine government is countering China's new claim it owns the island of Palawan. The National Historical Commission of the Philippines, military officials and lawmakers work together to warn the public about the information warfare being waged by Beijing. Chinese spies have also been arrested, further increasing tensions between the two countries. The Marcos administration has consistently said it will not cede a square inch of our country's territory. Let's get on point with Philippine Coast Guard spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Commodore Jay Tarriela. Commodore Jay, finally good to have you live in person. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Hello, Ms. Pinky. Thank you for having me here.
Good to have you. And again, as mentioned, thank you for your time. I'm going to start with this. When China's social media platforms, sir, claimed that Palawan is part of China and it was called Zhenghe Island, named after the Chinese famous explorer, what was your initial reaction?
Well, honestly, I just dismiss it. This is just purely fake news. The more we talk about this, we are actually amplifying such misinformation. So for me personally, I just ignored it.
But there were a number of reactions, or sometimes there's a balancing act that needs to be done. Hindi ho ba? Do you ignore it para mamatay yung balita, or do you counter it with saying and fighting that that is not true and that is fake news? How do you determine one from the other?
Well, initially, if there are no so much reaction from ordinary people, kung hindi pa siya nakakuha ng substantial number of people responding to that post, then you can just ignore it. But the moment that a lot of people are talking about it and appearing to be, somewhat true, then that's the time that the government and government officials can issue statement to counter such misinformation.
Okay, the issue here, kasi Commodore, also is, there are artificial islands there. There has been numerous harassments, laser pointing, water cannons being used, sideswiping our Philippine boats and the BFAR. What could be next? It's almost like hindi tumitigil eh. And then here, this news that Palawan was or is part of China.
Well, on our part, kung titingnan naman natin...
Parang ang tanong ko, sorry sir, is what is the reason for this? Bakit ho kailangan humantong pa dito na pagkatapos po ng lahat ng pinagdadaanan natin, ay tatawagin pang parte ng China ang Palawan?
Well, that has been their strategy, creating misinformation, confusion sa ating mga kababayang Pilipino. And the longer this narrative became, a new way to define their status quo and to defend their illegal action, that is the main objective of this. And as I said, the moment na may maniwala na dito, that's the only time we respond to such lies.
How far is Palawan from China, the nearest border of China?
Well, Palawan is part of the Philippines already. And if you're going to measure Palawan away from at least Hainan, probably that would be like 850 nautical miles.
So would that be about 1,500 kilometers? Ganun
Yes.
ho ba yun? Okay, because that's what it appears, no? It's 1,500 kilometers away from China. But with information like this, of course, you have the National Historical Commission of the Philippines already saying, debunking this. You have lawmakers, as mentioned a while ago. You have officials saying, delusional, fake news. This is unsubstantiated. This is so inaccurate. Pagka may ganito po na nagsalita din ng NHCP or National Historical Commission of the Philippines, I guess it also needs to, educate the Philippines, ganun ba? The Filipino people na walang katotohanan ito. Ito ang aming basehan. Read this.
Yes, and that has been the effort of the National Task Force West Philippine Sea. As you are aware, Ms. Pinky, the Transparency Initiative is actually to tell the Filipino people what is happening and to educate the Filipino about our position in the West Philippine Sea. From the comic book launching that we did last month, up to the engagement with the youth universities, and even the local government. We need to do this to counter such misinformation.
What kind of reaction are you getting with the actions that are being undertaken so far?
Of the national government?
Yes, yes.
I think
Yung pakikipag-usap sa tao, yung comic books, etc.
I think the surveys that were conducted can speak for the result. No? That more than 83% of the Filipinos are supportive of our position in the West Philippine Sea, and that 7 out of 10 Filipinos will not be voting any pro-China candidates. I think the efforts that we're doing are very good for our country.
What could be done more? Ano po kaya ang dapat pa natin gawin or i-amplify?
I think our challenge right now, no, just what I mentioned as well in the last congressional hearing, one of our greatest challenges in our fight in the West Philippine Sea is to counter fake news and misinformation. This is something that we really need to seriously address. Otherwise, the transparency efforts that we are doing will continuously be challenged by misinformation and fake news.
Yeah.
And the more, it will be more difficult for us to tell the Filipino people what is the significance of our fight.
Do you feel that there is more awareness now at yung spirit of the Filipino people, the spirit is stronger? Mas umiinit ho ba now?
Yes. When we started in 2023, my engagement to the local media, university students in different parts of the country, kapag tinanong mo sila pag-usapin ng West Philippine Sea, some of them cannot even comprehend what's the meaning of WPS. But nowadays, if you're going to ask people from Mindanao, Visayas, or even up north, they can immediately respond na WPS is actually West Philippine Sea. So this goes to show na I think we are very effective in what we're doing.
And also because we're such an underdog, sir. Dahil din ho sa mga video na nakikita po natin at ipinapalabas po natin with all the harassment that's being done to basically the Filipino people who are fishermen na nangingisda lang po within our EEZ or exclusive economic zone, yung pagrore po natin, rotation and resupply mission doon po sa Ayungin Shoal. Yan po yung pag-water cannon sa ating mga barko. Siyempre nagagalit din po yung mga Pilipino at naiintindihan ko ano nangyayari dito.
Yes, Ms. Pinky. And it's not just about the being underdog narrative, no? But what we're actually showing to the public is the level of aggression na ginagawa talaga ng China sa ating mga mangingisdang Pilipino, sa Armed Forces of the Philippines, and to the Philippine Coast Guard. Before, noong mga nakaraang taon, no, before President Bongbong Marcos, there were only 3 incidents na na-publicize at napag-usapan ng publiko.
You're talking about the Duterte administration,
yes,
sir? Okay.
There were only 3 incidents. So the first one was the FB Jimber incident. The second one was the water cannon incident.
Sorry, what was the first one?
FB Jimber collision incident. Yung mangingisda sa Mindoro.
In Jemver. Tama ba? Okay,
yeah.
yes. Okay.
And then the second one was November of 2020, yung water cannon na nagsalita si Secretary Lorenzana about it. And then the third one was the Julian Felipe swarming of more than 200 Chinese maritime militia. Many Filipinos thought na okay naman na ang West Philippine Sea, wala nang kaguluhan. No? And it's very difficult for them to really understand what is happening kasi there's a limited information that we release. So for this administration, that's what we did. Every time that there's an aggression, we publicize it. We showed to the Filipino people the videos and actual footages of what really happened.
And kahit yung mga senador, sir, mas maingay ho sila at mas matapang sila.
I would say they are more supportive now than just making noise.
Yeah. No, I mean, I do recall former Senate President Mig Zubiri, hindi ho ba? A lot of the videos also that was shown initially, siya pa po ang nag-provide or nanggaling po sa kanya, or it was sourced from his office.
Yes.
Diba? All right. So there's something very important here also that needs to be talked about because there was a hearing in the House of Representatives on fake news, ito pong TRICOM, and you had a suggestion for a law, basically, to legislate a law on fake news. We're going to talk about that after the break. Commodore Jay Tarriela of the Philippine Coast Guard will still be with us. Stay tuned. This is On Point. Welcome back. You're watching On Point. Still with us, Commodore Jay Tarriela of the Philippine Coast Guard. Siguro in summary, sir, kasi sa dami na rin po na nangyari, What has been the worst incident thus far during the Marcos administration?
Well, I think the worst incidents na nangyari sa West Philippine Sea under the Marcos administration are the incidents that transpired last year, 2024. This is the time that we experienced direct ramming from a China Coast Guard vessel while BRP Teresa Magbanwa is in Escoda Shoal. We also experienced direct jet stream water cannon targeting directly our Coast Guard vessel. And of course, the third one is itong resupply mission ng June 17, wherein one of the naval sailor had an accident of, yung naputulan ng daliri.
Tama, that's right, sir. But there was a report recently that came out that with regards to the RORE missions, at least the last 5 of them, it would be every other month. Let's say August, October, December, February, something like that, sir. It's been successful so far. Is this something you would confirm?
Well, based on the statement of the Department of Foreign Affairs and the Armed Forces of the Philippines, every time that those resupply missions were conducted, saying that it was successful, I would support such statement.
Okay. So now, however, apart from the skirmish that you mentioned, the 3 worst ones, we also saw Chinese vessels nearing our territory for the first time, di ho ba? There were 2 incidents. One was in Bataan, was it, sir?
Zambales.
Zambales, sorry. Okay. And ano ho, again, balikan po natin ang nangyari noon. How near were they?
Well, for 2025, the Chinese Coast Guard started it with deploying their Chinese monster ship last January 4, wherein it got near at a distance of 58 nautical miles away from Capones Island, Zambales. And since then on, the Philippine Coast Guard has been, monitoring their presence and shadowing them and challenging them through radio that they do not have the legal authority to carry out maritime patrol. Since January until March, the China Coast Guard vessels are now illegally deploying their vessels off the coast of Zambales, Pangasinan, and Ilocos. But
Ilocos also?
Yes, Ilocos region, Ilocos province. And right now, they are once again back in off the coast of Zambales.
Scarborough?
Yes.
Around the area?
Yes.
Last report, there are about 11, 9, is it Coast Guard ships and 2 Navy, or the other way around?
I cannot recall that data, but right now we are monitoring 4 China Coast Guard vessels.
4 around Scarborough Shoal.
Yes.
Commodore, I want to go to that hearing at the House of Representatives on fake news, because this is important, because fake news needs to be countered, sabi mo nga. Well, first of all, with the UN, Congressman Marcoleta, is it all okay already nung nagharap po kayong dalawa?
Yeah. Congressman Marcoleta came to me immediately after that question and answer portion. And he extended his hands, and we shake hands, and he said nothing personal about it.
Hindi niyo tinanong yung katang-isip?
No. I think we're done with the discussion already.
The discussion about that. Okay. So, again, for context, this is because of the statement made by the congressman about hindi makikita sa mapa. Tama ho ba yung mga salita? Hindi makikita sa mapa ang West Philippine Sea.
Well, I'm not sure, no? Because kung i-google natin, nandiyan naman na ang West Philippine Sea sa Google. You can actually Google it using Google Earth, no? So I'm not really certain what he is referring to.
I think he was referring to a formal entry of calling the West Philippine Sea as is in there's a created agency for this. But also going back to that, there's something that you mentioned during that hearing that I'd like to talk about. You were saying that it's time to create a law against online disinformation, particularly those spreading fake news about the West Philippine Sea. Exactly what did you have in mind, sir? And what was the reaction of the congressman?
Well, there are first narrative ng fake news ng mga trolls, no? they are always undermining our position. They would always say na wala tayong basihan sa West Philippine Sea, despite of the 2016 arbitral award. So that's the first thing. Second is, every time that there are incidents that we are publishing, ika-counter nila yun, sasabihin nilang it's our fault. No? And then the third one, ang issue daw ng West Philippine Sea is not about President Bongbong Marcos standing up for our rights, but rather we are dictated by the United States. And then, fourth, ang issue nila dito is magkakaroon daw ng gera kapag patuloy nating tinindigan ng laban natin sa West Philippine Sea. So this kind of narrative are actually undermining our national security interests. No? So I think we should be able to limit their constitutional right of arguing that they have freedom of expression or freedom of the press, if ever.
Freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech. No? So para sa akin, anything that undermines our position in the West Philippine Sea, particularly about our national interest and national security, should be limited and make them accountable.
So, ibig sabihin, kung sumalungat po sila, sabihin natin sa ruling ng, the arbitral ruling in 2016, that should mete out some sort of punishment, ganun ho ba? Or penalty?
Well, punishment is probably...
penalty.
Yeah, penalty, perhaps.
Pwede silang kasuhan,
Yes,
parang ganun po.
anything that will make them accountable for that wrong information that they posted.
What was the reaction of the congressman rather, when you suggested this?
I think
A law on disinformation.
I think majority of the TRICOM members there are very supportive of this kind of bill that will be passed probably kapag natapos na tong TRICOM hearing nila about fake news.
Well, in fact, that's why they were hearing, there's a TRICOM hearing, exactly for fake news. Kayo po, biktima din ng fake news?
Yes.
Madalas.
Madami.
What was the worst fake news about you, Commodore?
Well, para sa akin, ang pinaka-annoying and sometimes humorous din, no, na isipin, yung argument nila na CIA daw ako. Parang kahit nanay ko, Miss Pinky, hindi maniniwala. Kung mukha-mukha lang, wala talaga sa pagkatao ko. No? Secondly, they're also saying na I'm a U.S. lapdog. I am receiving a talent fee from the U.S. Embassy.
Bayaran po kayo.
Diba? Parang yan ang, para sa akin, it's unfair on my part dahil parang magsasalita ka lang ba sa West Philippine Sea and then you will be receiving this kind of fake news and misinformation to destroy your credibility and your reputation. Parang it's unfair for my family.
And how do you deal with that now? Because that will not end, sir. Magpapatuloy po yun dahil you're one of the more vocal ones speaking for the West Philippine Sea and against fake news.
Well, right now, since I have labeled them as fake news trolls or misinformation, ngayon parang naka-move on na ako eh. Tinatawanan ko na lang kung ano pang misinformation ang gagawin nila sa buhay ko and I just completely ignore it.
What can we expect, sir? Maybe, I guess, in the next months or so in the West Philippine Sea, knowing that, well, I mean, siguro, are there going to be more patrols? Has there been more help or assistance or call from our fishermen that they are being harassed? What's happened, siguro, in the last week or month, and what can we expect in the next months or so?
Well, to tell you honestly, Ms. Pinky, we cannot really predict what will be the level of aggression of the Chinese government. But what I can probably share with you is, right now, President Bongbong Marcos has a very direct instruction to the Philippine Coast Guard and to the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources. We have to make sure that there are Coast Guard vessels and BFAR vessels that will support the Filipino fishermen na makapangisda ng maayos at kung sakaling mahaharas, ay may Coast Guard vessel na makakapag-responde. If you're going to ask me whether this...
Sabay ba yun, sir, palagi, BFAR and Coast Guard?
Well,
or pwedeng independent sila?
Well, there are instances na meron silang area na pinapatrol. We also have a different area that we patrol. We're not a very rich country, so we need to, spread our resources para
very
masustain
limited
yung presence
resources,
natin.
So pwede pong separate. Normally,
Yes.
it's a
Normally
separate
separate, but nagtatagpo lang kami kapag meron ng fishermen na bibigyan sila ng ayuda like fuel,
kapag meron na pong tulong
Yes.
na ipinapaabot. So, I guess that's it, sir. So, in the coming months or so, ganun pa rin po ang ating, while we don't know what they can do or are capable of doing or any next move, patuloy po yung pag-ayuda sa ating mga mangingisda.
Yes, and the presence of the Philippine Coast Guard vessel will remain to be as aggressive as it was in the past year.
What about just quickly, sir, new equipment or ships that we can expect this year, sir?
Well, not for now. We have already ordered 5 97 meters from Japan.
What are those, sir?
The Teresa Magbano, the biggest Coast Guard vessels, 97-meter vessels. These are brand new. And I think the earliest that they can deliver that is 2027. And then, of course, the 40 vessels that will be coming from France, I don't think that it will also be delivered within the year.
So, ang pinakamaaga pong nakikita natin is 2026 or 2027?
2026.
All right. Commodore Jay Tarriela, sir, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. And that's On Point. Join us again tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. here on BNC, the Billionario News Channel. I'm Pinky Webb. Thank you for watching.